World War II. The Second World War was a global conflict spanning from 1939 to 1945, involving the majority of the world's nations, including major powers aligned into two opposing military alliances, the Allies and the Axis. This total war saw countries channeling their economic, industrial, and scientific resources into the conflict, blurring the lines between civilian and military efforts. Aircraft played a pivotal role and a new role in this war, facilitating strategic bombing and the deployment of the only two nuclear weapons ever used in warfare. With an estimated 70 to 85 million fatalities, it stands as the deadliest conflict in human history, marked by genocide such as the Holocaust, as well as widespread starvation, massacres, and disease. And this is exactly what we will be covering in today's video, the World War II Iceberg Explained. This will cover things from well-known facts and trivia at the top, and towards the bottom, it will cover some disturbing, scary, and horrifying things that people faced in the horrors of war. And also, by the way, for some reason you aren't able to say Hitler or Nazi, so I will be using the words mustache man and Germans instead of the original words and just as a substitute. And also, before we get into the video, consider subscribing to the channel. It's my goal to be at 500,000 subscribers before the end of the year, and I really think we can do it. So subscribe to the channel. Alright, now let's get into the video. Also, quickly, before we get into the iceberg itself, I'll give a quick, brief overview of World War II and why it started and what happened during it, just so people understand, watching, everything a little bit better before we get into the more niche topics of the iceberg. Alright, so let's just get into the World War II explanation. World War II was a huge war that happened from 1939 to 1945. It involved many countries all over the world. The main sides were the Allies, which included the United States, the Soviet Union, and the United Kingdom, and the Axis powers led by Germany, Italy, and Japan. The war started when Germany invaded Poland, which made Britain and France declare war on Germany. The fighting spread to different parts of the world. In Europe, there were big battles like the one at Stalingrad, where the Soviet Union stopped Germany's advance. In the Pacific, Japan attacked the United States at Pearl Harbor, bringing America into the war. World War II was a very brutal time, to say the least. Millions of people, including many civilians, lost their lives. The Nazis, who ruled Germany, killed millions of Jews and other people in what's known as the Holocaust. But eventually, the Allies started winning. They invaded Europe in a big way on D-Day and slowly pushed back the Axis powers. The war finally ended in 1945 when the Axis powers surrendered. After the war, the world changed a lot. The United States and the Soviet Union became superpowers, and they didn't really get along. Starting what's called the Cold War, people also wanted to make sure something like World War II never happened again, so they created the United Nations to help countries talk and solve problems peacefully, and hopefully prevent a third world war. Alright, now that explanation and just quick overview is out of the way, let's get into the iceberg. Tier 1. Die Glock, which means the bell in German, is the name given to a mysterious and highly speculative project rumored to have been developed by Germany during World War II. The existence of Die Glock is based on various different conspiracy theories and speculative accounts, and there is limited concrete evidence to even support the Die Glock's existence. According to some accounts, though, Die Glock was a secret weapon or technology developed by German scientists under the direction of the SS. It has been described as a device resembling a large bell or metallic object, purportedly capable of anti-gravity propulsion, time travel, or even generating deadly radiation. Some speculative theories suggest that Die Glock was part of a German project to develop advanced weaponry or harness esoteric scientific principles. However, concrete evidence of the Die Glock is scarce, and many historians regard it as just a myth or a legend, but this concept has gained popularity through various different books, documentaries, and internet forums discussing German secret weapons and unconventional scientific experiments during World War II. Lost Gold Train. The Lost Gold Train refers to a legendary German train purportedly loaded with gold, treasure, and valuable artifacts that was allegedly hidden in a tunnel or buried in a mountain in Poland near the end of World War II. According to the legend, as Allied forces advanced into German-occupied territory in 1945, the train was concealed to prevent its capture and to hide all the gold and riches. Rumors of the lost gold train circulated for decades after the war, fueling speculation and treasure hunting endeavors to find this mysterious treasure. In 2015, 2 amateur treasure hunters claimed to have discovered the train's location based on information from a deathbed confession from a previous soldier. This sparked a renewed interest into finding the train, with various individuals and organizations conducting searches and excavations in the region. Although, despite the extensive efforts, including ground-penetrating radar surveys and excavations, no conclusive evidence of the lost gold train has been found. German zombies. During World War II, the Germans did conduct numerous horrific experiments, including medical and scientific research, often onto prisoners in concentration camps. These experiments were conducted under the supervision of individuals like Dr. Mengele and aimed to further German racial and ideological goals. Some of the infamous experiments included testing the limits of human endurance, studying the effects of diseases and poisons, and attempting to develop methods of sterilization and racial hygiene. These experiments often resulted in immense suffering, permanent disability, and death for the victims. It's true that during World War II, the German regime engaged in a wide range of unethical and often barbaric experiments, particularly in the realms of medical research and technological development. Led by figures like Dr. Mengele, these experiments inflicted unimaginable suffering on countless victims in concentration camps. While there's no actual concrete evidence of anything showing German zombies, as depicted in some fictions like Call of Duty and stuff like that, their pursuit of advanced weaponry, unconventional science, and esoteric knowledge is well documented. The Germans did indeed explore occult beliefs in supernatural phenomena, sending expeditions to collect artifacts and documents related to such topics. Speculation still persists about the extent of the Germans' experimentation and technological advancements. Some believe that they may have delved into fringe science, including anti-gravity technology and even extraterrestrial contact. MIA soldiers, or missing in action soldiers. During World War II, the number of soldiers reported as missing in action, or MIA, was tragically high. The chaos and ferocity of the conflict, spanning multiple theaters of war and involving millions of military personnel, resulted in many soldiers becoming separated from their units or lost in the confusion of battle. MIA status during World War II was often attributed to a variety of different circumstances, including enemy actions such as combat engagements, bombings, naval battles, and aerial dogfights. Additionally, soldiers could become MIA due to accidents, getting lost behind enemy lines, or being taken as prisoners of war and never being accounted for after. Efforts to locate and identify MIA soldiers during World War II were challenging, particularly in the vast and diverse theaters of combat. Despite the best efforts of military organizations, including search and rescue missions and recovery operations, many soldiers remain unaccounted for by the end of the war. The families of MIA soldiers endured profound uncertainty and anguish, often waiting anxiously for news of their loved one's fate. Some soldiers were eventually declared killed in action or presumed dead, while others remained officially listed as missing in action for years or even indefinitely. Missing Heinrich Müller. Heinrich Müller, a high-ranking German official, served as the chief of Gestapo, the secret police of Germany, during World War II. After the war, Müller's fate became the subject of speculation and mystery, same with a lot of other high-ranking Germans, as he was never captured or even accounted for. Despite extensive efforts by Allied forces to locate and apprehend German leaders, Müller managed to evade capture. Numerous different theories and rumors did circulate regarding his possible escape, including claims that he fled to South America or remained in hiding in Europe under an assumed identity. Various investigations and searches were conducted over the years in an attempt to uncover Muller's whereabouts, but none yielded conclusive evidence of his fate. Tier 2. Foo Fighters. During World War II, the term Foo Fighters was used by Allied pilots to describe mysterious aerial phenomena observed during combat missions, particularly at night. These sightings typically involved glowing or pulsating orbs of light that appeared to follow or accompany aircraft, sometimes exhibiting erratic flight patterns. The origins and nature of Foo Fighters remain a subject of debate and speculation. Some theorists suggest that they were natural phenomena, such as St. Elmo's fire or ball lightning, while others propose explanations ranging from secret enemy weapons to extraterrestrial spacecrafts. Foo Fighter sightings were reported by pilots from various Allied air forces, including the United States Army Air Forces, the Royal Air Force, and the Luftwaffe. Despite their prevalence, Foo Fighters were never conclusively identified, and their existence remains a mystery. In popular culture, Foo Fighters have been associated with just UFO sightings and conspiracy theories, inspiring numerous books, documentaries, and speculative discussions about if they're actually aliens or just some mysterious other flight thing. Flight 19 Disappearance. Flight 19, a group of 5 U.S. Navy torpedo bombers, disappeared over the Bermuda Triangle on December 5, 1945, during a routine training flight from Naval Air Station Fort Lauderdale in Florida. The flight, led by experienced flight instructor Lieutenant Charles C. Taylor, was conducting a navigation exercise known as Navigation Problem Number 1. Despite clear weather conditions, the flight became disorientated, with Taylor reporting compass malfunctions and uncertainty about the position. Despite repeated radio communications between Flight 19 and ground control, efforts to guide the aircraft back to base were unsuccessful. The last transmission from Flight 19 indicated that the pilots believed they were over the Florida Keys and were preparing to ditch their aircraft due to fuel exhaustion. Despite extensive search efforts, no trace of Flight 19 or its crew was ever found. Additionally, a rescue aircraft sent to locate Flight 19, known as PBM Mariner, also disappeared without a trace during the search. The disappearance of Flight 19 has become one of the most famous mysteries associated with the Bermuda Triangle, an area in the western part of the North Atlantic Ocean where numerous aircraft and ships are said to have vanished under mysterious circumstances. While various theories have been proposed to explain the disappearance of Flight 19, including navigational errors, equipment failures, and paranormal explanations, the true cause remains unknown. Religious artifacts. During World War II, various religious artifacts and cultural treasures were at risk due to the conflict's widespread destruction and looting. Germany, in particular, was notorious for plundering art and artifacts from conquered territories, including those with religious significance. One infamous example is the looting of Jewish-owned artwork and religious artifacts during the Holocaust. The Germans systematically confiscated valuable religious items from synagogues, Jewish homes, and communal institutions as part of their campaign to erase Jewish culture and heritage. Additionally, German officials, including Heinrich Himmler, expressed interest in acquiring religious artifacts with supposed mystical or cult significance. Expeditions were sent to search for ancient relics and artifacts, including the Holy Grail, which we'll go into deeper later in the Iceberg, and it's really interesting how the Germans went and looked for the Holy Grail in the Ark of the Covenant as their ideological quest. The Allied powers as well, aware of the cultural significance of these artifacts, took measures to protect and recover looted treasures during and after the war. The Monuments, Fine Arts, and Archives program, often referred to as the Monuments Men, was established to safeguard cultural heritage and locate stolen art and artifacts after the war and during the war. Amber Room. The Amber Room was a legendary and opulent chamber decorated entirely in amber panels, gold, leaf, and mirrors. It was originally constructed in the 18th century in the Catherine Palace of Tsarskoye Selo near St. Petersburg, Russia. Commissioned by King Frederick I of Prussia and gifted to Peter the Great of Russia in 1716, the room was considered one of the 8 wonders of the world. Due to its stunning beauty and intricate craftsmanship, During World War II, as German forces advanced into the Soviet Union, the Amber Room was dismantled and looted by the Germans in 1941. Despite efforts to hide and protect the room, it was ultimately transported to Königsberg, now Kaliningrad, where its fate became uncertain. Despite extensive searches and investigations over the years, the whereabouts of the original Amber Room remain a mystery. Numerous theories and rumors have circulated regarding its fate, including speculation that it was destroyed during Allied bombings, raids, or hidden in underground bunkers. In the decades following World War II, efforts were made to reconstruct the Amber Room using historical documents, photographs, and remaining fragments of the original panels. A painstaking reconstruction project began in 1979, funded by the Russian government and private donors, resulting in the creation of a replica Amber Room in the Catherine Palace, which was unveiled to the public in 2003. While the original Amber Room may never be found, the replica shows a pretty good testament to how cool and amazing this eighth wonder of the world was. Victor Goddard Incident. The Victor Goddard Incident refers to the purported paranormal experience involving Royal Air Force officer Victor Goddard in 1935. According to Goddard's account, he had a bizarre and unexplained encounter while flying over an abandoned airfield in Scotland. During the flight, Victor encountered unusual weather conditions, including a sudden and intense storm. As he approached the abandoned airfield at Drem, he claimed to have briefly entered a time slip or alternate reality where the airfield appeared operational and modernized, with mechanics working on planes painted in colors not yet introduced in the RAF. Perplexed by the strange sight, Victor quickly left the area and continued his flight. Upon returning to the base, he reported the incident to his supervisors, who were skeptical of his account. However, several months later, RAF Drem underwent renovations and modernization, including the introduction of the new paint colors and other changes that matched the details of Victor's earlier experience. Who betrayed Jean Mulan? The betrayal of Jean Mulan, a prominent figure in the French resistance during World War II, remains a subject of speculation and debate. Mulan was a key figure in coordinating resistance efforts against the German occupation of France and played a crucial role in unifying various resistance groups under the leadership of General Charles de Gaulle's Free French Forces. Mulan was arrested by the Gestapo in June 1943 during a meeting with the resistant leaders in Linen. He was subjected to brutal interrogation and torture, but refused to reveal vital information about the resistance movement. He died under mysterious circumstances while in German custody, with the exact details of his death remaining unclear. The identity of the individual or individuals responsible for betraying Mulan to the Gestapo has never been definitively established. Various different theories and suspicions have been put forward through the years, implicating different individuals within the resistance movements, collaborators with the German occupation, or even rival factions seeking to eliminate Mulan as a political rival. Despite numerous investigations and inquiries conducted in the aftermath of the war, conclusive evidence linking a specific individual to Mulan's betrayal has proven elusive. Tier 3. Battle of Los Angeles. The Battle of Los Angeles, also known as the Great Los Angeles Air Raid, occurred on the night of February 24th through the 25th, 1942, during World War II. The incident unfolded when unidentified objects were sighted in the skies above Los Angeles, California, prompting widespread fear and confusion among residents and military authorities. In response to the perceived threat, anti-aircraft artillery batteries were mobilized, and a citywide blackout was ordered. For several hours, the night sky over Los Angeles was illuminated by searchlights and tracer rounds as anti-aircraft fire was directed at the unidentified objects. Despite intense military activity and multiple reports of sightings, no enemy aircraft were shot down or confirmed to have been present in the area. The incident generated considerable speculation and controversy, with various theories proposed to explain the sightings, including weather balloons, Japanese aircrafts, or extraterrestrial visitors. In the aftermath of the incident, the U.S. military initially attributed the sightings to false alarms triggered by wartime jitters and anxiety. However, conspiracy theories and speculation about the true nature of the objects seen over Los Angeles persisted for decades, fueling debates about the possibility of UFOs and government cover-ups. While the Battle of Los Angeles remains one of the most famous UFO-related incidents in history, official investigations and historical analysis suggest that the objects sighted were likely misidentified aircraft, weather balloons, or other mundane phenomena exacerbated by wartime tensions and confusion. Lake Topoltz Treasure. The Lake Topoltz treasure refers to a collection of valuable items that were allegedly hidden or dumped in a Lake Topoltz located in the Austrian Alps towards the end of World War II. The lake, surrounded by dense forests and difficult terrain, became the subject of intrigue and speculation due to the rumors of hidden German treasures and wartime secrets. During the final stages of the war, the area around Lake Topoltz was used by the German military for various purposes, including testing weapons and conducting secretive operations. It is believed that as the war drew to a close, the Germans may have disposed of valuable assets, documents, and even counterfeit currency in the lake to prevent their capture by advancing Allied forces. In the years following the war, numerous expeditions and attempts were made to locate and recover the rumored treasure from Lake Topoltz. However, the lake's deep and murky waters, coupled with the treacherous terrain surrounding it, posed significant challenges to exploration and recovery efforts. Despite extensive searches, including the use of sonar equipment and diving expeditions, no definitive evidence of any hidden treasure trove has ever been found in Lake Topoltz. Mustache Man's Missing Gold. The concept of Mustache Man's Missing Gold refers to the persistent rumors and speculation surrounding the whereabouts of gold and other valuable assets believed to have been looted or hidden by Germans during World War II. As the war drew to a close and Allied forces advanced into the German-occupied territories, the Germans engaged in extensive looting of gold, currency, artwork, and other treasures from banks, museums, and private collections across Europe. The scale of German looting was immense, with valuable assets seized from individuals, organizations, and entire nations. Much of this loot was intended to finance the German war effort, while other items were acquired for their cultural or historical significance. Despite efforts by Allied forces to recover stolen assets and prosecute war criminals responsible for looting, significant portions of the German treasure remain unaccounted for after the war. Rumors and legends emerged about hidden caches of gold and other valuables, allegedly stashed in secret locations by fleeing Germans or hidden in underground bunkers. Numerous expeditions and treasure hunts have been conducted over the years in search for Mustache Man's missing gold, but conclusive evidence of vast hidden caches has remained elusive, and nothing has been found about the Mustache Man's missing gold. Ghost Blimp. The Ghost Blimp incident refers to a mysterious and unexplained event involving a United States Navy blimp known as L-8, which became unmanned and drifted over the San Francisco Bay Area on August 16, 1942. The L-8 was on a routine anti-submarine patrol mission when it suddenly lost communication with ground control and began flying erratically. Despite attempts to establish contact with the crew, the blimp continued its flight path over the city of San Francisco, attracting widespread attention and concern from civilians below. Eventually, the blimp drifted inland and came to rest in Daly City, California, where it was found to be completely deserted. There was no sign of the two-man crew, Lieutenant Ernest Cody and Ensign Charles Adams, who have been on board when the blimp took off. The mysterious disappearance of the crew, coupled with the unmanned flight of the blimp, sparked intense speculation and conspiracy theories about what happened to them. Various theories were proposed, ranging from equipment malfunctions and crew error to sabotage or enemy action. Despite extensive investigations by military authorities and law enforcement agencies, no conclusive explanation for the incident was ever determined. The fate of Lieutenant Cody and Ensign Adams remains unknown. Missing Hanjo Masamune. The Hanjo Masamune is one of Japan's most famous swords, crafted by the legendary swordsmith Goro Noido Masamune during the 13th century. It is renowned for its exceptional craftsmanship, superior cutting ability, and legendary status as one of the finest swords ever created. During World War II, the Hanjo Masam was designated a national treasure of Japan and was stored in the Tokyo Imperial Palace along with other precious cultural artifacts. However, as the war progressed and the Allies conducted bombing raids on Japanese cities, concerns arose about the safety of these treasures. In the closing days of the war, amid the chaos and destruction of Tokyo, the fate of the Hanjo Masam became uncertain. It is believed that the sword, along with many other cultural artifacts, may have been lost or destroyed during the firebombing of Tokyo in March 1945 or in the aftermath of the war. Efforts to locate the missing Hanjo Masam have continued for decades, but its whereabouts remain unknown to this day. Who snitched on Anne Frank? The identity of the person who betrayed Anne Frank and her family to the authorities during World War II remains unknown definitively. The Frank family, along with several others, had been hiding in a concealed room behind a bookcase in the annex of Otto Frank's home and office building in Amsterdam to evade German persecution. On August 4, 1944, the Frank family, along with the other residents of the annex, were discovered by the Gestapo, the German secret police. They were arrested and taken into custody immediately. The circumstances of their discovery and arrest have been the subject of speculation and investigation for decades. Various different theories have been proposed about who may have betrayed the Franks, including individuals with knowledge of their hiding place, neighbors, or even anonymous informants seeking favor with the German authorities. However, no conclusive evidence has been found to identify the person responsible for the betrayal. The fate of Anne Frank and her family after their arrest is well documented, though. They were initially sent to Western Bloc transit camp and later deported to Auschwitz concentration camp. Anne and her sister Margit were eventually transferred to Bergen-Belsen concentration camp, where they both died of typhus in early 1945, shortly before the camp was liberated by Allied forces. Tier 4. Pearl Harbor Ghost Planes. Pearl Harbor Ghost Planes typically refers to a series of urban legends and rumors about alleged sightings of ghostly aircraft or phantom planes in the skies over Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, particularly around the anniversary of the December 7, 1941 attack by the Imperial Japanese Navy. The attack on Pearl Harbor was a pivotal event that drew the United States into World War II, resulting in significant loss of life and extensive damage to the U.S. Pacific Fleet. In the years following the attack, rumors began to circulate about eerie or paranormal phenomena associated with the site of the attack, including reports of ghostly aircraft flying overhead or reenactments of the attack itself. These stories often involve sightings of vintage aircraft, such as Japanese Zero fighters or American bombers, said to resemble those involved in the attack of Pearl Harbor. Some accounts claim that these ghostly planes appear suddenly and then vanish without a trace, while others describe encounters with spectral aviators or the sound of aircraft engines overhead. Missing Blutfahne. The Blutfahne, or blood flag, was a German relic imbued with symbolic significance for the German party. It was a red flag that was allegedly carried during the failed beer hall Putsch of 1923, an early attempt by a mustache man and the German party to seize power in Munich, Germany. The Blutfahne was said to have been stained with the blood of the German supporters who were killed during the beer hall Putsch. After the failed coup, the flag became a powerful symbol of martyrdom and sacrifice for the German movement, and was venerated by party members. During World War II, the Blutfahne was kept in secure location in Munich and was paraded during significant German rallies and ceremonies. However, as Allied forces advanced into Germany towards the end of the war, the flag disappeared, and its whereabouts became unknown. Various theories and rumors have circulated about the fate of the Blutfahne, including speculation that it was destroyed, hidden, or stolen by Allied soldiers as a war trophy. Despite extensive searches and investigations, the flag has never been recovered, and its ultimate fate remains a mystery. Ghost Army. The Ghost Army, officially known as the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops, was a unique unit of the United States Army during World War II. Formed in 1944, the Ghost Army was comprised of artists, designers, engineers, and other creative personnel, whose mission was to deceive and mislead enemy forces through the use of camouflage, decoys, and psychological warfare tactics. The Ghost Army's primary role was to create the illusion of large military formations and movements in order to divert enemy attention and resources away from actual Allied operations. These employed a variety of deceptive techniques, including inflatable tanks, trucks, and artillery pieces, as well as sound effects, radio transmissions, and dummy equipment to simulate troop movements and deceive enemy reconnaissance. The Ghost Army operated in secrecy and often worked closely with other Allied units, providing them with crucial support and protection during combat operations. Their efforts were instrumental in several key campaigns, including the Battle of Normandy and the liberation of France, where they helped to confuse and disorient German forces and facilitate Allied advances. Despite the vital role they played in the war effort, the Ghost Army's activities remained classified for decades after the war, and their contributions were largely unknown to the public until later on and now. It was only until the late 20th century that the Ghost Army's story began to emerge. Glenn Miller Disappearance. Glenn Miller, the renowned American bandleader and musician, disappeared under mysterious circumstances during World War II. Miller was at the height of his career when he enlisted in the U.S. Army Air Forces in 1942 to serve as a musical morale booster for troops during the war. On December 15, 1944, Miller boarded a small aircraft bound for France from England, where he had been stationed. His intended destination was Paris, where he's scheduled to perform for Allied troops. However, neither Miller nor the plane's passengers were ever seen or heard from again. The exact circumstances surrounding Miller's disappearance remains unclear, and numerous theories have been proposed over the years. Some speculate that his plane may have encountered bad weather or mechanical issues and crashed into the English Channel. Others suggested that the possibility of friendly fire or an accidental collision with another aircraft. Despite extensive searches and investigations conducted by military authorities, no conclusive evidence has ever been found to determine what happened to Miller and the other passengers on that flight. Why Rudolph Hess went to Scotland. Rudolph Hess, a prominent German official and deputy Führer of Germany, made a highly unusual and controversial solo flight to Scotland in May 1941 during World War II. The exact motivations behind his flight remained the subject of speculation and debate. Hess's flight to Scotland was apparently an unauthorized mission, undertaken without the knowledge or approval of Mustache Man or other high-ranking German officials. Hess claimed that his intention was to negotiate a peace settlement with Germany and the United Kingdom, believing that he could persuade influential figures in Britain to agree to a separate peace and end the war in Europe. However, Hess's mission was met with skepticism and suspicion by both British and German authorities. Upon his arrival in Scotland, he was immediately taken into custody by British forces and held as a prisoner of war. British Prime Minister Winston Churchill and other officials refused to negotiate with Hess, viewing his actions as an unauthorized and untrustworthy diplomatic overture. The circumstances surrounding Hess's flight to Scotland have given rise to numerous different theories and speculations. Some historians believe that Hess acted alone, driven by a combination of personal conviction, delusions of grandeur, and a desire to carve out a role for himself in shaping the course of war. Others suggest that Hess may have been manipulated or deceived by rival factions within the German regime who sought to exploit his mission for their own ends. Despite his initial hopes for a negotiated settlement, Hess's flight to Scotland ultimately proved to be a diplomatic and political fiasco. He remained in British custody for the remainder of the war and was later tried as a war criminal at the Nuremberg trials, where he was convicted and sentenced to life imprisonment. Hess died in captivity in 1987. Pete Ellis predictions. Pete Ellis was a United States Marine Corps officer and military strategist who is best known for his insightful predictions regarding the future of naval warfare and the importance of amphibious operations. Ellis made several notable predictions and recommendations during his career, particularly in the interwar period between World War I and World War II. One of Ellis's most significant predictions was his foresight regarding the strategic importance of the Pacific region and the need for the United States to develop a robust naval presence in the Pacific Ocean. He emphasized the potential for conflict with Japan and the necessity for establishing forward bases and naval stations to protect American interests in the region. Ellis also advocated for the development of amphibious warfare capabilities, recognizing the importance of conducting amphibious assaults to project power and protect power and seize strategic objectives in coastal regions. He stressed the need for specialized training, equipment, and tactics to support amphibious operations, which would later become crucial during World War II, particularly in the Pacific theater. Despite his insightful predictions and forward-thinking ideas, Ellis faced skepticism and resistance from some within the military establishment. His views were not always fully embraced or implemented during his lifetime, but his ideas laid the groundwork for the development of amphibious doctrine and the eventual success of amphibious assaults during World War II. Sungun. The Sungun, also known as the Sunbeam, was a hypothetical space-based weapon proposed by German scientists during World War II. The concept behind the Sungun was to create a large, orbiting mirror or lens that could focus sunlight onto a specific target on Earth, such as a city or military installation, and generate intense heat and light. The idea of the Sungun was first proposed by German physicist Hermann Oberth in the 1920s, but it gained traction during World War II as German scientists explored various unconventional weapons and technologies. Theoretical calculations suggested that a sufficiently large mirror or lens could concentrate sunlight to create a powerful and destructive beam capable of causing widespread devastation. However, despite the theoretical feasibility of the concept, the practical challenges of building and deploying such a weapon were considerable. The enormous size and weight of the mirror and lens required to focus sunlight effectively, along with the technical difficulties of positioning and aiming the weapon in space, presented significant obstacles to its development. Moreover, the progress of the war and the eventual defeat of Germany meant that the Sungun never progressed beyond the conceptual stage. After the war, Allied forces seized German scientific research and documentation, including plans and proposals related to the Sungun, but there's no evidence to suggest that the practical efforts were made to pursue the project any further. Tier 5. Raoul Wallenberg's death. The fate of Raoul Wallenberg remains one of the great mysteries of World War II. Wallenberg, a Swedish diplomat, is renowned for his heroic efforts to save tens of thousands of Jewish people in German-occupied Hungary during the Holocaust. He issued protective passports and provided refuge in buildings designed as Swedish territory, effectively shielding Jews from deportation to concentration camps. However, Wallenberg's courageous actions ultimately led to his disappearance. In January 1945, as the Soviet Union and Soviet Army advanced towards Budapest, Wallenberg was detained by Soviet forces under suspicion of espionage. Despite diplomatic efforts to secure his release, Wallenberg's fate remains uncertain. The Soviet Union initially claimed that Wallenberg had died of a heart attack in July 1947 while in Soviet custody. However, subsequent investigations and testimonies from former prisoners and officials suggest that he may have survived in Soviet prisons for several years after his reported death. The exact circumstances of his death and the true extent of his time in captivity remain shrouded in mystery. Tokyo Rose identity. During World War II, Tokyo Rose was a generic name given by Allied forces and soldiers to various female English-speaking radio broadcasters who transmitted Japanese propaganda to the Allied forces in the Pacific theater. These broadcasts aimed to demoralize and undermine the morale of Allied troops. One of the most well-known broadcasters referred to as Tokyo Rose was Iva Togori Dequino, an American citizen of Japanese descent. She was born in the United States and traveled to Japan to care for a sick relative just before the war broke out. While in Japan, she was coerced by Japanese authorities to work as a radio broadcaster, using the name Orphan Anne. She delivered propaganda messages intended to sow doubt and discord among Allied troops. After the war, Togori Dequino faced trial for treason in the United States. Despite evidence suggesting that she had just been coerced into broadcasting and had not engaged in treasonous activities, she was convicted in 1949 and sentenced to prison. However, in 1977, following new evidence and revelations about her coerced participation, President General Ford granted her a full pardon. The identity of Tokyo Rose was thus associated with Iva Togori Dequino, but it's important to note that there were other women involved in similar propaganda efforts during the war. The term itself became a symbol of wartime propaganda rather than referring to one specific individual. Philadelphia Experiment. The Philadelphia experiment is a famous urban legend and conspiracy theory that alleges the United States Navy conducted secret experiments in invisibility and teleportation during World War II. According to the story, the experiment took place at the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard in October 1943. It involved a destroyer escort named the USS Eldridge. The legend claims that the experiment, known as Rainbow Project or Project Rainbow, was an attempt to develop technology to render ships invisible to enemy radar. It is said that during the experiment, the USS Eldridge disappeared from radar and sight, allegedly becoming invisible and teleporting to another location. Some versions of the story even suggest that the crew members experienced strange phenomena, such as time travel or psychological effects. The origin of the Philadelphia experiment story can be traced back to claims made by Carl M. Allen, a man who asserted that he witnessed the events while serving in the Navy during World War II. However, there is no credible evidence to support the existence of such an experiment. Most historians and scientists dismiss the Philadelphia experiment as a work of fiction or a myth. Project Rae's purpose. Project Rae's was a secretive construction project undertaken by Germany during World War II. Its purpose remains the subject of speculation due to the limited documentation available and the clandestine nature of the project. The project consisted of a series of underground tunnels, bunkers, and facilities located in the Owl Mountains, now part of Poland. It encompassed several different sites, including the complexes known as Rae's 1, Rae's 2, and Rae's 3. These underground structures were built using forced labor, including concentration camp prisoners, and were shrouded in secrecy. Several theories exist regarding the purpose of Project Rae's. Some historians believe that it was intended to serve as a strategic military stronghold or production facility for advanced weapons, such as aircrafts or missiles. Others suggest that it may have been part of a plan to create secure underground facilities for high-ranking officials or to safeguard valuable cultural artifacts and resources. Another theory says that the Project Rae's was connected to a development of advanced technologies or research projects, possibly including nuclear weapons research or experiments related to occult beliefs prevalent within the regime. Despite extensive research and investigations, conclusive evidence regarding the true purpose of Project Rae's remains elusive. The complex was never completed, and its construction was disrupted by the advancing Allied forces towards the end of the war. Alpine Fortress Gold. The term Alpine Fortress Gold refers to a legendary cache of gold rumored to have been hidden by Germany in the Alpine region during the final days of World War II. This myth has captivated the imagination of treasure hunters, historians, and conspiracy theorists for decades. According to various accounts, as the Allied forces closed in on Germany towards the end of the war, the Germans purportedly transported vast amounts of looted gold, precious artifacts, and other valuables to secret locations in the Alps. The goal was to safeguard these treasures from falling into enemy hands and potentially use them for financing clandestine activities or rebuilding efforts after the war. Numerous theories and stories have emerged regarding the fate of the Alpine Fortress Gold. Some believe that the treasure remains hidden in remote mountains, caves, tunnels, or underground bunkers, awaiting discovery by the intrepid adventurers. Others speculate that the gold was actually recovered by Allied forces or subsequently looted by individuals and organizations in the chaotic aftermath of the war. Despite extensive searches and investigations over the years, no evidence of the existence or whereabouts of Alpine Fortress Gold has ever been found, although many historians consider the legend to just be a product of myth and speculation, fueled by the allure of hidden treasure and the intrigue surrounding the final days of the German regime. Tier 6. Gertrude Silver Disappearance. Gertrude Tompkins Silver was an American pilot who went missing during World War II. She was one of the Women Air Force Service Pilots, a group of female civilian pilots who flew military aircraft in non-combat roles during the war. Gertrude Tompkins Silver disappeared on October 26, 1944, while flying a P-51D Mustang from Los Angeles to Newark, New Jersey. She was on a ferrying mission for the United States Army Air Forces. Despite extensive search efforts, her plane and her whereabouts were never found. Her disappearance remains one of the most enduring mysteries of World War II, as she just disappeared over the United States. The fate of Gertrude Tompkins Silver has sparked speculation and investigation. Some believe that she may have crashed into a remote area in the United States, while others suggest the possibility of foul play or espionage. Despite various theories, her disappearance remains unsolved, and her ultimate fate remains unknown. In 2010, though, efforts were made to search for her plane, but no conclusive evidence was found. Mad Jack, and this is probably my favorite entry on this iceberg because this guy's just crazy. Alright, let me just get into Mad Jack. Mad Jack is the nickname of Lieutenant Colonel John Malcolm Thorpe Fleming Churchill, a British officer who served during World War II. He earned his nickname for his eccentric behavior and daring exploits on the battlefield. One of the most notable aspects of Mad Jack's persona was his preference for unconventional weaponry and tactics. He was known for charging into battle armed with a longbow and a Scottish broadsword, weapons more commonly associated with medieval warfare than modern combat. Like, imagine you're on the battlefield with a gun and some guy comes running at you with a sword and a bow. And he even wore a kilt into battle. Mad Jack's most famous exploit occurred during the Battle of France in 1940. While leading his troops into combat, he captured a German position armed with only his sword, taking 42 prisoners in the process. Later in the war, he also participated in the Allied invasion of Italy and fought in the Battle of Normandy. Despite his seemingly reckless behavior, Mad Jack was very skilled and a very brave soldier. He was awarded the Military Cross and the Distinguished Service Award for his bravery and leadership during the war. After the war, he continued to serve in various military roles before retiring in 1959. Mad Jack's colorful personality and daring exploits have made him a legendary figure in military history. Dude, that guy is crazy. Colored forest trees. The forest swastika refers to a controversial formation of trees arranged in the shape of a swastika, a symbol commonly associated with the German regime. This particular instance gained attention in the early 1990s when it was discovered in a pine forest in Brandenburg, Germany. The formation, composed of about 140 large trees, was believed to have been planted during the 1930s, possibly as a propaganda effort or a show of support for the German party. However, the exact origins and motivations behind the creation of the forest swastika remain unclear, as there is limited documentation or testimony available, but it's a pretty weird thing, and it's most definitely not a coincidence, and was most likely just a show of German power or some weird sort of thing like that. I don't know, but it's up on screen. Take a look at it. It's weird. Yamashita Gold. Yamashita's gold refers to a legendary treasure rumored to have been hidden in various locations throughout Southeast Asia during World War II by Japanese forces under the command of General Tomoyoto Yamashita. The treasure allegedly consists of vast quantities of gold, precious gems, and other valuable artifacts looted from countries occupied by Japan during the war. According to the legend, as Allied forces closed in on Japan towards the end of the war, Yamashita's troops concealed the treasure in underground tunnels, caves, and other secret locations to prevent its capture by the advancing Allies. The exact extent and value of Yamashita's gold remain uncertain, with estimates ranging from billions to trillions of dollars worth of gold and gems. The legend of Yamashita's gold has inspired numerous treasure hunters, adventurers, and conspiracy theorists over the years, leading to extensive searches and excavations in various parts of Southeast Asia, particularly in the Philippines. However, after decades of speculation and investigation, no evidence of the treasure's existence has ever been found. Operation High Jump. Operation High Jump was a significant United States Navy operation conducted in Antarctica in 1946. It was one of the largest Antarctic expeditions ever undertaken and aimed to establish research bases, conduct scientific studies, and assert American sovereignty over areas of Antarctica. Led by Rear Admiral Richard E. Byrd, Operation High Jump involved multiple ships, aircraft, and personnel, including scientists, military, and pilots. The operation was divided into several task groups and included activities such as aerial surveys, geological studies, and mapping of previously unexplored areas of the continent. While the stated goals of Operation High Jump were scientific in nature, some conspiracy theories have emerged over the years suggesting alternative motives for the mission. These theories range from claims of secret military objectives, such as the search for Nazi bases or alien encounters, to suggestions of covert exploration of ancient civilizations or technologies hidden beneath the ice. Alexandria Land base purpose. Alexandria Land is an island in the Arctic Ocean, part of the Franz Josef Land archipelago, which belongs to Russia. It's located relatively close to the North Pole and has strategic significance due to its proximity to key Arctic shipping routes and potential natural resource reserves. One of the main purposes of establishing a base on Alexandria Land is to assert Russian sovereignty in the Arctic region. The presence of a research base allows Russia to maintain a permanent presence in the area, conduct scientific studies, and monitor environmental changes. Additionally, it serves as a platform for military activities and patrols in the Arctic region, which has gained geopolitical importance due to the melting of sea ice and the opening of new shipping routes. Tier 7. German Search for the Holy Grail. Now we're getting into some crazy interesting stuff that I just love. But the German search for the Holy Grail is a popular myth and part of the broader legend surrounding German occultism and the quest for supernatural artifacts during World War II. According to various accounts and conspiracy theorists, high-ranking members of the German regime, including Heinrich Himmler and Mustache Man, were interested in acquiring mystical and occult objects believed to possess supernatural powers, the Holy Grail. A legendary relic associated with Christianity and the Last Supper of Jesus Christ has been the subject of fascination and speculation for centuries. It is said to be the cup used by Jesus during the Last Supper and has been associated with themes of immortality, divine grace, and spiritual enlightenment. During World War II, there were rumors and reports that the Germans were searching for the Holy Grail and other mystical artifacts as part of their quest for power and dominance. Some conspiracy theories suggest that the Germans believed acquiring such artifacts would grant them supernatural abilities or provide them with a divine mandate for their actions. However, there is really no evidence to support these claims that they were really looking hard for them, and many historians consider them to be exaggerated or entirely fictional, but I like to believe that the Germans were searching for the Holy Grail, just like the Indiana Jones movies, but there is no credible evidence, sadly, to suggest that they were searching for the Holy Grail or that the relic even exists in the world in an archaeological sense, that the Holy Grail even exists, period, or they were even looking for it. But the myth of the German search for the Holy Grail has obviously been perpetuated in popular culture through books, movies, and television shows, and just very interesting and kind of exciting thing to learn about. Scandinavian ghost rockets. The Scandinavian ghost rockets phenomenon refers to a series of mysterious sightings or of identified flying objects reported primarily in Sweden, Finland, and Norway during the summer and fall of 1946. Shortly after the end of World War II, these sightings involved reports of rocket-like objects observed flying through the sky at high speeds and making unusual maneuvers. The ghost rockets were described by witnesses as elongated, cigar-shaped objects with no visible wings or tail fins, emitting flames or sparks from their rear ends. They were often observed traveling at high speeds and making sharp turns or sudden changes in direction, characteristics that were not consistent with known aircrafts at the time. The sightings of the ghost rockets sparked widespread speculation and concern among military authorities and government officials in Scandinavia, who feared that the objects could represent a new type of advanced weapon or surveillance technology developed by a foreign power, such as the Soviet Union or the United States. Investigations into the ghost rockets phenomena were conducted by various agencies and organizations, including the Swedish military and the Swedish Defense Staff, as well as international bodies like the United Nations. Despite extensive efforts to identify the objects and determine their origin, no explanation was ever found. And alright, that wraps up the World War II Iceberg Explained. This one was shorter than I thought it would have been, but this was kind of more of a shorter-ish World War II iceberg because some of them were like really, really long and would have been like 5 hours long. And I can do that in the future if you want me to. I'm not sure if I want to do a 5-hour World War II iceberg because I feel like a lot of the parts would be boring. And this one was kind of the more niche and weird topics, such as like the Germans searching for the Holy Grail and stuff like that. Like this is more niche and less, out there, and this is more out there instead of just like the regular World War II stuff, which I think would be kind of boring, but this one was interesting in my opinion. That's why I chose it, and I can do a more in-depth World War II iceberg in the future, but I thought this was good for just the series of the World War I and World War II, and I enjoyed making this video, and I think I might make other videos than icebergs. I'm not sure. I've got a few good ideas that I've been thinking about, and I've only made icebergs like my entire career, so I might, go off the beaten path a little bit with some other things. And so I've got some cool videos, so just turn notifications on and subscribe and like the video. It helps a lot. And yeah, thank you for watching until the end. This video is about an hour long, so thank you for spending an hour with me learning about World War II stuff. And all right, this outro is very drawn out. My bad. All right, until next time. See ya.